So we're going into day 4, and if you've been doing your stamina refreshes, you're getting close to 35. I haven't done mine completely for today, but before I even get partially through them, I'm going to hit 35. Which means that we're going into hell mode. So hell mode for our module bosses makes it significantly harder. So I'm going to go over real quickly what that means, and then we're going to talk about how to properly prepare to clear the entire hell mode. Because if you notice, unlike the other sections, there's actually 4. Okay? So right now we're looking at Nightmare, which Nightmare just says that, for example, for Terramatan, when he attacks, both hands will perform a follow-up attack, and the offensive hand here will do massive damage. Now, when we get into Hell 1, you can see that it's added a section. So, basically, in Hell difficulty, he will deal 30% additional damage to odd animus, and all turn meter effects are going to be reduced by 30%. That doesn't mean you can't use turn meter effects. Obviously, do so because it does make it a little easier, but it's just going to be reduced. The big takeaway here is the additional damage to odd animus, and I can tell you from playing in beta, if you've been running this boss with Lingluo or Tiamat for some sustain or survivability, you cannot do that in Hell. You might get away with it on Hell 1, but the difficulty is just going to increase as you go down into the other ones. Now, the percentage stays the same, but he does hit harder. He is a bit tankier as you go through the different stages. And let me tell you, he will one-tap your odd animus, especially if they get applied with the defense down by the offensive hand. Now, Tiamat might be able to survive the initial hit, but not for very long. Lingluo will get absolutely destroyed unless you just built straight HP on her. My point is, you kind of just want to avoid using odd animus here at this point, because it's really going to work against you. Other than that, like I said, he does get tankier. He is definitely going to hit harder. So, if you're finding yourself on Nightmare 3 and you're struggling to clear on Nightmare 3 already, you're not ready to go into Hell. And I'm just telling you that straight from the off, so that way you're prepared for that. You need to make it to where you can clear Nightmare 3 somewhat easily, to at least get to the point where your team can auto battle and clear at least consistently. I know sometimes AI is not perfect as far as the auto clear goes, but at least consistently to be ready to go to Hell 1. Now, if you're not clearing consistently and you're struggling on Nightmare 3, you need to stay at Nightmare 3 before you go to Hell and try to get your animus up with the purple gear or the outstanding gear. I mean, it's more like a fuchsia. And then also make sure that... Sorry, wrong tab. Make sure that you're also getting your shells leveled up. Now, it's okay to level up a gold shell that we get here. Shells actually give you a lot of base stats that will really, really help you for survivability, for damage, etc., etc., etc. So you can like max out an epic shell. I have one that's maxed out, which is Twilight Knight. Now, it does have another level, but because it costs 125 to get to the next level, I'm just not doing it. But obviously, if you did it, it's perfectly fine, because again, like, these additional stats here apply to your animus, so it'll really help you with survivability. So those are the two things that I would look at. Try to get your characters. Now, they don't all have to, I should say, they don't all have to have the future gear. Obviously, my Rosa has a mixture, but you at least want to have all your gear at least at 15. And the reason she has a mixture is because RNG is not kind to me sometimes. But yeah, just make sure all the gear is leveled out as much as you can. Make sure your shells leveled up as much as you can because of those extra stats, so you can guarantee your survivability a little more. Same thing for Doki Doki. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to take on Hell because I haven't cleared Nightmare 3 at 3-star yet. I struggle against this boss. And so when we go to Hell 1, you can see here the same effect applies. They deal 30% extra damage to Reason Animus. So if you're using something like Mia or Leon or Veronica or any reason animus in here, Dina even, you want to stop using it at hell level because they will get one tapped. And again, even if they survive initially, they do take more damage. They're not going to last in the fight for a very long time. So you need to make sure that you're well aware about that. And then we can go over to Aurora. Aurora, same deal, except for... oh, I'm not on hell yet. I haven't cleared Nightmare yet with Aurora, excuse me. So Hell 1, you go into it, and so this is more similar to Terramatan, so the Terminator effects on her are reduced, and then she deals 30% additional damage to Hollow Animus. So again, like, when you get into these higher levels, your type counters matter. They really, really do. So don't play around and find out, okay? Obviously, you're going to be able to clear it more effectively if you have someone that counters the type, like, I'm sure... Oh, no one's cleared it yet. We'll look at Nightmare 3 real quick. So, you can clear it with, the Ting. The Ting is a really strong one, and he's an SR unit. If you have Rosa, Rosa's really good here as well. Things like that, but obviously, like, this person used Freya, this person used Klaus. I wouldn't when it comes to the hell levels. If you can clear it fast enough, you might be able to get away with it, and I say that for any of them. But Doki Doki has 2 waves, so the chances of being able to clear that fast enough for it not to matter are not great. Like here you can see they use Bayotin here, so Bayotin is probably tanky enough, plus they have enough damage on their Real Mocha, as you can see here, to probably clear it very fast. If that is the case for your team, then you are the exception. However, I would say by the time you reach Inferno, I wouldn't even try it, because for Inferno it's 200% damage. I strongly would not try it. Has anybody cleared Hell 4? I'm sure they have. Yeah, okay, so now you can see what I'm talking about here. So Hell 4, looking at Hell 4, you don't see any reason animus. So I think I said before, you could probably get away with it on Hell 1. But like as you get into the harder difficulties, I wouldn't even try it. This person was able to clear with Lingluo. Yeah, Lingluo has a crap ton of HP. That's literally the only reason they survived here. So that's what I said before, is like if you have a lot of Lingluo or a lot of HP on Lingluo slash Tiamat, you could probably survive long enough. But yeah, so keep that in mind as far as that goes. Then again, if you're struggling to clear, go back, do your shells, upgrade your gear some. If you're still using this purple gear here, you can't do that. You can't do that on Hell. Maybe you could slide by for like the first level or 2, but like you're really going to start to feel it as you get, higher up in the levels. So if you're still running purple gear, I suggest you try to farm and get this fuchsia gear, or at least get all gold gear that you can get from Hard 3. So I hope that helps. In addition with that, make sure your characters are leveled up. Now, they don't have to be 6-star. Obviously, like 6-star does cost some materials. You can't make everyone 6-star, but at least get them to this 5-star level 45. Because that will help tremendously and gives them enough of a base boost. So as long as your gear is good and at least mostly leveled, like I don't have this piece all the way leveled yet, but at least mostly leveled, and your shell at least is 3-star, if not 4-star, to give you those extra stats, and you can get these extra passive effects as well. And then also your skills. I don't have all his skills maxed out yet here, but at least do your skills as well. Make sure that they're at least leveled up before the first one, because I know the perfect lattice are very, hard to come by. So at least make sure to level up to level 2, like before you get to level 2, I mean, because it gives you the extra defense stats here, gives you extra health, and it gives you the extra attack stats for everyone. By now, you should at least have one person that you've maxed out a skill for, as far as an SR. So make sure you choose wisely. I chose Lily. If you have Lily, that is a great investment on her skill 1 because it guarantees her 100% follow-up attack, which I'll show you right here. So every time she hits an auto, the person who has Twin Trick applied on them will follow up that attack every single time. So really, really good, especially for some team comps, like for example for Chloros, who gets stacks and things like that. Yeah, so I would recommend that. If you have Mio, let's see, I think the best one, sorry, my nose itches. In my opinion, the best one for Mio is probably her skill 3 because it increases the turn meter steal effect and the chance to steal turn meter, and then it'll reduce her skill cooldowns by 1. So as far as that goes, if you're looking at Lingluo, let's see, I would say, I mean, honestly, any of them are really, really good. This one plays more into her passive, which is Well Prayer, or not her passive, but the effect that she applies, which is Well Prayer. So you could definitely do this, but really any of these, but Lingluo you're not going to be using for every boss. So like, for example, Teramaton, unless you have them really maxed out. And then as far as your SRs go, like for example, if you have Marvel instead of Mio, perfectly fine. You can max out one of his skills. Personally, I think in the beta, I max out his 3rd. And if we take a look at the stuff here, like you have plenty, you have enough to max out 1 SR's full skills if you wanted. So there's that as well. Sonya, if you have SR Sonya, I would recommend maxing out her passive first, because that will help her the most. As far as Dina goes, maybe look at like her ultimate here, because it applies all of the vulnerability, the erosion, the defense down, all the good things. Dating, I would say, hold on a minute. Yeah, I would say probably Dating's passive, like typically, and it's not always 100%, but typically a good rule of thumb, if you are unsure and you just absolutely just don't know, if a character has a passive, you can't go wrong maxing out the passive. You know, so keep that in mind as well. If you're looking at Leon and you're wanting to get Leon, I would recommend her skill 3 because it increases the chance to steal turn meter and the effect of the turn meter steal, which is really, really good because it makes her a turn meter, like more significant turn meter manipulator. Yeah, so make sure you're doing that. And again, you can invest more in SRs than you can SSRs. So you can do like a combination of both. But again, at this point, you can max out almost 2 SR skills entirely if you wanted. Though, honestly, you don't have to. You could literally use that and instead max out one person's skill that's an SR entirely, and you can max up to almost 6 of them. Like, you could do Kraken, it's a good option. Chiaki the Echo is really, really good. Kazuyo the Reverie, that's really good for the Doki Doki fight, for example. Gray, let's see, Rin I've actually seen used, not bad to use. Viper, really good. Valerian, I've seen a lot of people use and max out her skill 3 where she starts the battle in Hazy Dream, really, really strong. So, I mean, most of your SRs are really, really good anyway. I don't really think there's a bad SSR. Or not SSR, excuse me. SR. I don't really think there is a bad SR. I don't think you could go wrong with building any of them. There are some that have a more significant impact than others, so you just have to play it with by ear. But yeah, so make sure you're just geared, make sure your skills are leveled, make sure you have your shell leveled, and make sure you at least have gold, if not the fuchsia gear, or a mixture of both before you start to go into help, because it will help a lot, and you should be able to clear it a bit easier, because you're gonna have to get through all of this. And then Inferno is level 50, So you'll be sitting at hell for a little while. So you need to use that time to be able to get as many red pieces as possible. And as you can see, or mythic pieces, as you can see here, for the first level of hell, the first 2 levels of hell, you're only getting the 2, the 2 on the module pieces. Once you get to hell 3, you can start getting the 3, which is really nice. You're still getting future pieces, but you are at least getting 3 on each of the pieces that you get that are mythic. So really big improvement, will help a lot. And then when you get to hell 4, of course, it's all red pieces. And then the reason like Inferno is so important in the future, we're going to go into this. Inferno has these 2 important gear pieces. Well, it varies from boss to boss, but in Terramaton's case, my brain is malfunctioning, I'm sorry. It's these 2, and you can tell that they're special because you can see the little animation. So basically what these are is, it's a 6th set. So basically you get this on your cell, and then you get this gear piece, and it's literally just one gear piece. That is it, and it goes on the right side of your gear. Okay, so you don't have to farm multiple pieces for this set. You literally just need it on your shell, and you need it on the right side of your gear. And so as you can see, like this one's HP and effect accuracy, this one's crit rate, crit damage, really nice stuff. So but yeah, so that's what Inferno is going to add for us. But other than that, you need to make sure you can get to hell. You might not be able to clear all the way to hell 4 in one go. That's okay, work your way there. But essentially you're going to want to sit at hell 4 as soon as you can to start farming for this gear and start preparing to go into Inferno. And I should tell you, as far as going into Inferno, and we'll cover this again when Inferno opens up for everyone, but just as a little tidbit to think about in terms of like as you're building. So Terramaton on Inferno level, for him specifically, so the Terminator effects are reduced by 60%. It's probably the same thing on Aurora. And he gains immunity for 3 turns at the start of the battle. So he can't be debuffed at all for 3 whole turns, which will significantly decrease your survivability in the fight and the odds of you getting through it fast, because he's also going to be hitting you hard. So if you have anyone that can dispel the immunity, so if you have Mia, for example, she has her second ability can dispel. If you have Veronica can steal buffs. Those are 2 really good units that can manipulate or steal the buffs to where you can do this fight easier. Highly recommend, hopefully, that you have one of those so you can make this clearing this easier. If you don't, look for anyone in your roster, and I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but look for anyone in your roster that can remove buffs. Now, if you have Heinrich, I don't think you'll be able... he starts the turn, I believe. Yeah, so he starts the battle with immunity, so you will not be able to cast for Heinrich to block him getting that buff, because he's going to have it at the start. So Heinrich is already out, if that was a consideration in your head. So anyone else that removes buffs or anything like that, look for that in your roster, but at the top of my head, those are the first 2 I can think of. Other than that, if you don't have someone to remove the buffs, make sure you have some survivability going into this. And remember, you need to avoid odd animuses. So make sure your SR Sonya is built, for example, and things like that. If you have Hell Kit for shields, that can also be really good. Just make sure you have some survivability going into this, because again, that's 3 whole turns of immunity. So you can start prepping for that. And then Doki Doki going into Inferno. So when you go into Inferno with Doki Doki, obviously we talked about the reason again, but enemies have an extra 90% damage reduction effect, and you have to apply a control effect to remove it. So in Inferno, it amplifies her strat from the start, from everything. You have to have a control effect. You have to make sure it applies. So if you don't have Mio already and you've just been ooga boogieing and getting through it without control effects, I recommend looking and seeing what you have. If you have Kazuo the Reverie, who's an SR, she can put everyone to sleep. So that's really good, a really good option to build for that. But however, of course, she is hollow, so you have to be very, very careful because she can get blown up. So please keep that in mind. If you have Kraken, he's also another good one because of his ultimate and the freeze. Make sure you have a good bit of effect accuracy on him. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anyone else that will apply the control effects. It's basically like sleep and freeze, I think. So like those would be your top two options, which is Kazuo the Reverie and... Wait, you know what? I just said she can get blown up and I just realized, I'm sorry. Before you start screaming in the comments, I just realized what I just said. I was thinking of Aurora. Sorry about that. So no, Kazuo the Reverie is absolutely fine. I was also getting it mixed up with Cosme Kazuo. It was like a mashup in my head, so please ignore that. Please ignore that. Yeah, so your top options for SR units that will apply those control effects is Kazuo the Reverie and Kraken. So if you don't have Mio, perfectly fine. As an SR option, I would build one of these at the very least, so you can have that hard CC. Make sure again that they have a lot of speed and they have a lot of effect accuracy because you want them to act as soon as possible before the monsters act, so you can get those control effects, so you can get that damage down. Otherwise you're really going to struggle. And then going into Aurora, so Aurora for Inferno, and again I'm telling you this now so you can start prepping for it because we're just going into hell today. So her turn meter effects are reduced by 60%, and I don't think, yeah, okay, so the effect from the Curse Shield where the characters deal less damage in Inferno, that's 90% less damage. So for Aurora, when it comes to Inferno, make sure you have your Ling Luo built really well for healing, because that is basically, as far as healers, that's what we have that can go against Aurora, because you can't take Tanya. So make sure she's fully equipped and really, really good for healing. As another additional option, if you have Mia, you can also build her for a little extra healing and to try to dispel any buffs on Aurora, because Aurora does get immunity buffs from her little dudes, and that's at Nightmare level, so she definitely gets that Inferno level. Otherwise, you can also build Dorothy. Dorothy obviously isn't the greatest, but Dorothy, I believe, just got buffed, so you can build that as well. And the special thing about Dorothy is that her healing actually scales off of her attack, so you can just build a lot of speed and a lot of attack and she'll heal pretty well. Or wait, Dorothy didn't get the buff, sorry. Dorothy we started off with. Dorothy didn't get buff. I believe this Chiaki suit got the buff. So this is another one that you can build to get some additional healing. So those are some good options, so make sure you at least have one of them built really, really well to get that damage reduction off your team so you can clear it much easier. And also speed will be your friend if you can act and do some damage before she applies the Curse Shield to you. Be also really good. Okay, so I think that about covers that. We're gonna go into our shell boss in another video, but if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm super excited. I hope everyone is doing well and all that good stuff. So thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye everyone.